Welcome back, game developers. Before we start building in Flowlab, we watched a short video about best practices for creating your first game. These tips are important because successful game development isn't just about coding and designing levels, it's about managing your project and learning from the process. One of the biggest lessons was to start small. Many new developers imagine huge games with dozens of levels and complicated mechanics. However, experienced game designers recommend creating a game that can be completed in about a month. The goal isn't to build the next blockbuster game, it's to just finish a project and learn from it. We also learned that game development almost always takes longer than expected. Challenges come up, bugs appear, and new ideas emerge along the way. If your project takes longer than planned, that's normal. The important thing is to keep moving forward and continue learning. Another tip was to build first and perfect later. Instead of spending weeks planning every detail, start creating something playable as quickly as possible. The experience you gain from building and testing is often more valuable than having a perfect design document. The video also encouraged us to set milestones and break large goals into smaller tasks. Rather than writing finished game on a to-do list, create smaller goals like build player movement, create level 1, and add sound effects. Small wins help keep projects organized and manageable. We learned the importance of checking in with our projects regularly. Even if you're busy, spending a little time reviewing your game each week helps you stay connected to your work and prevents you from losing momentum. Another great reminder was not to worry too much about fancy graphics or sound effects at the beginning. A simple game with fun gameplay is better than a beautiful game that doesn't work well. Focus on making your game playable first. You can always add polish later. The video also emphasized using resources when you're stuck. If you've been trying to solve a problem for a long time, look for tutorials, ask questions, and learn from others. Every game developer uses resources to continue growing their skills. Finally, one of the most important tips was to let other people play your game. Watching players interact with your creation gives you valuable feedback and helps you discover ways to improve your design. With those game development principles in mind, let's look at what we built in Flowlab. Creating and customizing game levels. We began creating our game level and giving it a name. We also changed the background color to match the style and mood we wanted for our game. Next, we explore world settings. Gravity controls how strongly objects are pulled downward. Higher gravity makes character fall faster. Lower gravity creates a floating effect. Drag controls how quickly moving objects slow down. We also adjusted the world's height and width, allowing us to create larger spaces for our players to explore. These settings help define how the game feels and how players interact with the environment. Building the game world. Next, we created important world objects. We built wall blocks to keep players inside the game area and establish clear boundaries for the level. We also created kill blocks. These use collision detection to check when two sprites touch. When the player collides with a kill block, game flow behaviors can restart the level and allow the player to try again. These mechanics add challenge and structure to the gameplay experience. Sprite properties and movement. To make our character move, we use sprite behaviors and properties. For jumping, we use the impulse block. An impulse applies a force to a sprite, allowing the character to jump. By changing the impulse value, we can control how powerful the jump feels. Creating animations. A game becomes much more engaging when characters are animated. Using the animation editor, we created multiple frames of animation. We could either design our own artwork or use built-in presets. To trigger animations, we connected behavior events. Connect start to down to begin the animation, connect up to start to end the animation. This allows the characters to animate while moving and stop when standing still. Flipping the character. Characters need to face the direction they're moving. Using the flip block, connect left movement to flip, connect right movement to back. This makes the sprite automatically turn in the current direction without creating additional artwork. Adding sound and music. Finally, we added audio to our game. Using the components menu, we add a sound component and connected actions like jumping to the play sound input. This creates sound effects whenever the player jumps. We also added background music that begins when the level starts, helping create atmosphere and making the game feel more complete. Closing. Today's lesson combined two important parts of game development. First, we learned that successful developers start small, set goals, test their games often, and learn from every project they complete. Then, we applied those ideas in Flowlab by creating levels, adjusting world settings, building obstacles, creating movement and animations, flipping sprites, and adding sound effects and music. Remember, every great game developer started by building small projects and learning from them. Keep experimenting, keep creating, and keep sharing your games with others. We'll see you in the next lesson.